How's it going, guys? Today what we've got going on is the EVGA hybrid water cooler. I'm going to be putting this on my 2080 Ti XC2 Ultra, and this is the original cooler sitting over here, which I had already replaced with a different water cooler, but I just wanted to show you guys for reference. This is the big 3-slot air cooler that came with the card originally, and then we've got the card as it is currently using the NZXT G12 water mount with the EVGA 120 CLC RGB water cooler, and there's the radiator. I took the fans off already because they're staying upstairs until I put this on there, and then I'm just going to use the same fans. I didn't want to disconnect everything and bring it down with me. And I've got the EVGA power link on there, which allows you to connect your 8-pin PCI Express power connections to the back end of the card instead of having them stick out of the top of the card. It kind of makes a little bit better space-saving sense in my case. And so what today I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to get this cooler out of there, and also I bought a 2-slot bracket replacement for the 3-slot that was on the card, so it'll take up a little less space in my case. So that's something I'm going to have to be trying to figure out how that's going to mount on here. It looks like there's some extra, see, like there's this extra plate here that's used to mount the big bracket on there, so we'll have to figure that out. But like I said, I'm going to get this down to 2 slots, and I'm going to have the different cooler on there. I think that's going to look pretty nice in the case and then run nice and chilly. This has been idling around anywhere from 38 to 4, or not idling, but full load temps of like 38 to 42 degrees, depending on how warm it is in my condo. It's been pretty cold lately around here. The temps even got down into single digits for a few days, even though we're here in Kentucky. So, you know, it's been pretty cool temps, and the card's been running really well. But I'm going to put this on there, and I think it's going to look really slick. And there's less wiring that comes off of that than this does too. It'll just look cleaner in the case. And I'm probably going to get a second actual 2080 Ti, just straight up hybrid card in probably a week or two, and just run them in SLI again. Now that I've sold some things off, I sold my Xbox, and someone is buying one of my secondary computers. And so once I get some things sold, I will have the money, and then I can buy a straight, again, XE gaming version of the hybrid card from EVGA, and then run it with this one in SLI, and they'll look identical. I have to get a 3-slot NVLink bridge as well, because I previously had a 4-slot, and my new motherboard for my 9900K, the slots are closer together. But that said, just give me a second here, and we'll get this box opened up. I'm going to take this thing apart as well, get this old cooler off there, and we'll get the thermal grease and things cleaned off, and we'll put on the new cooler here. We'll go through that process. So I'll be right back. So I got the G12 back off there and cleaned the GPU up pretty good. But as you can see, this bracket here, like, it mounts into this plate on here somehow. And I think, like, I mean, if you look at it from the bottom, there's no evident screws. I think I'm going to have to take off the back plate to get at the screws to remove that, because it clearly holds this larger 3-slot back plate in place. So I can then exchange it for the 2-slotter, and then just store this with the original box the card came in. So that's sort of an irritation. But give me a second here, and I'll open up the box that the hybrid cooler came in, and we can get a look at that. My cat's talking to me, sorry. he's hungry, so I'll probably get him dinner. But I'll be back here in just a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and, like I say, get this pulled off here and get this exchanged out, get that 3-slotter off there, and then open up that box, and we'll see what's inside. So, be right back. So I had to take both the back and the front plate off to swap out this bracket. You can see I've got the front plate off, and the back plate is sitting up there. But just to get at these little screws that they've got holding that additional, like, plate support on there, you've got to take both the front and back plate off. So there's quite a few screws required in doing that. Kind of a pain in the neck just to do something like this. It probably really wasn't even worth doing. But if I'm going to run 2 of them SLI, I'm going to want to be able to, you know, fit them both in the case pretty well. So having 2-slot brackets is probably, maybe not required, but not a bad idea. So there you go. That's a pain in the neck to do, but that's how you get that off there, is you have to take the back plate off, which connects to the front plate, then take the front plate off, so you take these little screws out. But I'm going to do that, and then I'll get this box open here in just a minute. Just thought I'd show you guys that, because this is quite a bit more of a pain in the neck to take off than it really should be. And they're stuck on there pretty well with this thermal adhesive strips, so like you feel like you're going to break it, but you just kind of have to slowly pry it off there so you don't damage it. But be right back. So I got the box open here, and I mean, I don't know what's in this yet, but basically there's just some, I didn't put everything back together yet because I don't know if this thing is going to work with the plates on there or without it. Since this is designed to work specifically with XC series cards, I got to imagine that they designed this so you don't have to take off your front and back plate, but I'll have to read the instructions here in a minute and find out exactly how this is supposed to work. But we got a bag here, probably some kind of accessories or something, I don't know yet. Hard to work with one hand. Alrighty, what do we got here? This is probably like a heat sink for the VRMs or something. That's kind of what it looks like anyway. It's kind of hard to tell through that bag. Yeah, see, it's got thermal grease on, or thermal tapes on it already. I think that's a heat sink for the VRMs or the power phase board or whatever the heck. So that's cool. And we've got the usual. Throw that out of the way. Sorry. This is clearly like the main body housing for the fan shroud and so forth. It's going to go back over it. So get that out of there. And we've got. Oh, yeah. Don't put it on the bottom of your case and have the fan blow downward. Bad. Thanks for that important tip about airflow. But they've got the instructions in here and kind of shows how everything works. See, yeah, there's that little block we just found. Then there's going to be a fan with another block, and then this will all mount over that. But I'm pretty sure that's for power phases or something. It comes with all the various cable management ties. Oops, that's a little too close. So we got like the little base plate, shows what the 2080 and 27 version looks like, and the 2080 Ti version looks like. And then there's your standard, pretty much water block, and radiator outlet and so forth, and all the different little screws and mounting hardwares that you're going to need. So they're just showing different pictures. See the instructions below. It's going to tell you how to do all these different things. I will set up the camera here in a minute so you guys can just kind of watch me go through it once I've read through this stuff and know what I'm doing. But I think it'll probably be pretty straightforward. And there's that little card that shows us not to put the fan upside down. And here we go, here we go, here we go. Just throw that off to the side. And this is all of our zip ties and our screws and mounting hardware, etc. There's the water block. Comes with pre-applied thermal grease, but I'm going to wipe that off and use Arctic Silver because it's typically better. They've got their nice quality braided looking water tubes. I always like their stuff. Their fans, I just don't like them. Like their design. This one looks a little more standard, so maybe it's fine, but I'm going to use my RGB fans anyway. But some of their fans have like this dip on the sides, and it's like this parabolic curve or whatever, and it blows air off the sides almost. It doesn't seem like it does a very good job of directing the air in a single direction. So I will be using, like I said, those Corsair maglev fans that I did my video on here like about 5 days ago. But looks like we've got connection for at least one fan off the GPU. And then this is, I guess this is going to run to the card. Like this is probably power for the fan. That'll hook up to the video card somewhere. I thought maybe it would have a cable to hook up to like the RGB controller on the card, which the RGB/fan controller, which is this little connection down here at the end. I don't know off the top of my head where that's supposed to go. That's weird. That's almost like it's designed to go on a different card. Hopefully they didn't send me the wrong thing. It shouldn't be. But anywho, I'm gonna go ahead and read the instructions and get started here so we can get this bad boy up and running. Give me a minute and I'll be right back. So part of this apparently is removing the front plate, so that's sort of a pain in the neck. I've got the two-banger bracket on there, and I had to take the front plate off because apparently to mount this hardware on there, it requires that you take it off there. It can't mount to that front plate, and all this stuff has its own adhesive to go where it needs to go, so that it tells you to take all the thermal adhesive strips off of all your power phases and so forth. So we did that. Looks pretty well cleaned up. Hit it with some, they suggest that you clean the power phases and everything with a little bit of isopropyl high percentage alcohol. So I did that, everything cleaned off, blew it out real good with compressed air. If there's anything left stuck on there anywhere, it looks pretty good. So next thing up is to start installing these components. Like I say, the instructions are pretty straightforward. So this goes here, and then like I say, you've got instructions as to where things are supposed to go. Like you can kind of see the layout of how it's going to look here in a second, but this isn't too complicated. But you leave the back plate on so you can screw some of these components into place. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and try to put things together, and we'll see how it all turns out. Be back in a minute. So for some reason, my phone likes to stop recording video after 5 minutes. There doesn't seem to be any way to disable that setting. It's a problem because it's like 4K video takes up a lot of storage on the internal drive. So I guess they just they don't like you to let you just run wild with it. But I got everything installed on here pretty well. You can see in the back here that that connection there is where the RGB connector used to go. RGB/fan connection went to the previous, like the original stock cooler. Some of that's on there. We've got these all secured pretty well. The last step I think is going to be just to put the pump on there. I need to find out what kind of screws they want me to use for that. I'm sure it's in the instructions. There's probably something in this bag specifically designed to hold those in there a little bit better than the little tiny stock screws that I was using from the back plate. The back plate screws are used to secure all these to it. So if you have a back plate, this is designed, like I said, it'll allow you to use your original screws just to hold it in there. But otherwise, there's probably some in here that could be used in lieu of it. But I will go ahead and read up on what I need to use for this, and then I'll probably just pick up the video when I've got it on there, because like I say, for some reason when I record, like I said, my phone likes to just stop in 5 minutes, and it's sort of hard to do an entire scene of installing something when it's just stopping for the fun of it. But I will be right back here in a minute. Alright, so I've got the pump on there, and as you can see, this isn't, you know, like hidden away yet, but there's a cable connection from this that runs down to this part of the module here and hooks up to that. And we've got, again, like I said, the RGB/fan power connection to the card connected back here. And then I believe that this, well, this is for the fan, of course, sorry. That's pretty obvious. But there's another little wire coming off here somewhere. Yeah, here it is right here. So this, I believe, connects to this part of the shroud, which you can see connected there. And then you'd be able to control any lighting that the shroud offers, which we'll have to find out what that looks like when we get all installed and connected and whatnot. But I guess these lights, probably the hybrid plate up here, is probably something you can control using like a Precision X1 to change the lights on that. But give me a second, I'm gonna get everything connected up here. I think that all I have to do basically is just connect this up to the same points that the front plate used to be on, and it should finalize this installation. Then we can take it upstairs and throw it in the machine and see how it looks and see how it performs. I imagine it's going to be really similar in cooling performance to what I had before. It may be a little bit worse, maybe a little bit better. We'll have to wait and see. But we'll get those fans on there, those RGB fans, and of course, as we know, that makes it faster and it cools better when it lights up. We know that's how it works, right? But I'll be back in a few minutes once I get that turned on, or once I get this installed. Be right back. Alright, so we've got that cooler on there. We got the shrouder and everything installed into place. If I'd had that larger bracket here, this wouldn't really have fit underneath the lip of it quite right, although it probably still would have worked. But we got everything connected up. It's running out, looks good. Fan spins, no noises or anything. I will say, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to get this really recorded in the video, but the wiring in here is a pain in the neck to deal with. You have to route like the power for all of this. Like there's a wire that runs around down here and connects from a splitter that comes off here that routes down here, and they connect in the center, and it's not long enough to do what they say it is can do in the instructions. So it's like I had to kind of fiddle with the way I ran the wire. Like it starts over here and it says you're supposed to run it around this all the way around here and connect back up to this connection here. Well, it's about 3/4 of an inch too short to do that. So I don't know what they're smoking, but it's not possible to do what they say to do. So I had to just kind of like, I ran it sort of over here and then back again, so it was just the right length, and then I taped it off with some electrical tape stuff that came in the package. So I don't know what that was for, if not that, but it worked and keeps it in place. So hopefully it doesn't get loose and become a problem. And then the other connection to this is down underneath here, and it's, I'm sure, like I said, to control the hybrid lighting plate up here. And then last but least, this has got to be run out the center between the two tubes, so you can see it kind of connects and goes right up the center there. I think that's all pretty much how it's supposed to be. It looks like I got a little bit of a gap, but I don't know. I mean, it's like everything's screwed down and as tight as it can get. I don't want to cut that line or anything, but that's what it shows you to do, the instructions. So I guess I'm going to take this upstairs and throw it in the machine and get it fired up. We'll see how it does for cooling. I think it looks pretty good. I think it's a nice shroud. But I'll be right back in a second once I get this in my desktop upstairs. Like I said, I'm going to take off their fan and put my RGB fans back on there, and we'll fire it up. Be back in a minute. So you see we've got the card back in the system. I think it looks pretty nice in there. I got my EVGA power link reinstalled. Power lines are ran to it. We've got our radiator up here with our two Corsair Maglev 120 RGB Pro fans. And the power node is sitting down in there somewhere. This is just a rat, and the heat just came on, so I'm sorry about that, but whatever. I'm going to power this thing up. Let's see if it works. Well, fans are on. It's lighting up. That's a good sign. It says EVGA hybrid. Fans are all turning. Working down here. Looking pretty good. Let's see what kind of temperatures we can figure out. I'm going to play around with their Precision X1 software here in LED sync and make sure everything's working. So give me 1 second. We'll see how this does. Alright, so the LED controls definitely work using the EVGA Precision X1 software and their LED sync part of that software. But you can see that it's doing like a rainbow mode where it's just sort of slowly shifting between various colors. I think it looks pretty nice, actually. It looks really kind of understated and cool in there. I really want to get one of their sound cards just because I think they look neat and it would look cool with this, but I need to get another 2080 Ti, probably. I don't think that their SLI bridges or their new NVLink bridges look that good, though. I don't really think that they look good with this. I almost wish they'd do a different design, or maybe I could find a, one from a different brand or something that would look better. But I think it looks pretty nice in there. I can set up all the RGB and get everything going if I want to here and make it, kind of all look crazy. This won't synchronize with everything else, though, because it's kind of on its own controller, EVGA's software, instead of like MSI, not Afterburner, but Mystic Light, for example. But the temperature says it's idling around 25 right now. What I want to do is try to run some kind of a test to see what kind of temps we get up to with it and see if it's kind of doing a comparable job to what I had on there, or if it's better or worse, or about, I think it'll probably be about the same. But let's fire this thing up and see what happens. Be right back. Alright, I got Witcher 3 loaded up here, and these are the temps and whatnot. In the upper left hand corner of the screen, you can see the temperature is currently at 37, 38 degrees. Its GPU utilization is 99%, and the core clock is about 1920, 1935. And CPU temps are all sitting in the high 30s. Yeah, they're flopping around a little bit, but from the low to high 30s. Using about 13 gigs of RAM, about 70 to 80, around 80 frames per second. This should be 4K with everything turned up. I'm gonna give it a few minutes and we'll see what the temperature gets up to, because I just loaded it up here a minute ago. We'll have to see how it does. So we will do that here in a second and just see how much the number changes. Be right back. Alright, I've had it running probably a good 10 minutes or so. And you can see the temperature is capped out at 42 degrees, sorry. And that's pretty much what I was getting before, so no better, no worse. But I just think it looks better in the case. And like I say, if I'm going to run SLI, I kind of want two of them. There's no way to fit two of those other cards with AOI. Sorry, with this motherboard, with the all-in-one coolers on them, the NZXT mounts, there was no way to fit two of them in a 3-slot configuration. Like I said, my previous board had 4 slots, so you had space between the cards, but at this one, there's only, again, like I say, 3 slots. You can't run us, like I said, those other ones, the tubes, the way that they were coming out of the coolers the top card would push against the lower card, and it wouldn't have worked. It just wasn't enough space. I think this is running pretty nice. Like I say, it's still sitting 42 degrees. CPU is sitting at, or I guess the GPU utilization is at 99%. Sorry, CPU is about 51, 52%. I don't know if that's the utilization or I think that's the utilization. So some of these numbers, like, they don't tell you what some of the numbers mean, so it's like you're just kind of guessing what they're representing. But that said, I hope everybody liked this video. I hope you liked the channel, and maybe smash that thumbs up button if you did. And if you didn't, go ahead and give it a thumbs down, and maybe leave a comment and tell me what you didn't like about it and what I can do to improve. But appreciate everybody watching. Hope you guys do enjoy it and have a great rest of your weekend. I'll be sure to make more content as soon as possible. Like I said, I'll probably try to get a second one of these cards here in another week or two once I sell that second computer. And I should be able to be running some SLI benchmarks with the 9900K. Should be about as good as it can get for right now. But I'll see you guys again soon. Have a good one. Bye.